Sup, you fools! Matt is United, your favorite Eurovision channel. Welcome to yet another episode of Mattitude, where we talk about, yes, you guessed it right, Eurovision. A lot has happened over this past week, so we don't have any time to waste here. We got to jump right into it. But before I do so, I got my colleague Gabe here. How did you survive the last night, the last few Eurovision days, Gabe?
Hi, Matt. I was extremely stressed trying to watch about 17 things at once. But I really enjoyed it. And there was some fun surprises and some not so fun surprises, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
I
So
think
I am
we do.
excited.
Yes, and there's a lot to talk about. I see a few people already on social media tagging me saying, did you survive San Remo? In case you don't know, Gabe, this was yesterday. The intent was at least. This was my very first San Remo, right? I've always like, I cannot do this long of a show. I know people talk about how long it is and 5 shows, and I never watched it at all, only the winning song and then some clips that people suggested. So yesterday I sat down, I put time aside and was like, I'm going to watch this. I'm committing to this. And then I was like, I'm putting 3.5 hours aside. That's how dedicated I am. And then I found
Not
out
even
that's
half.
then I
Not
was
even
like,
half.
oh my God, that's longer than Eurovision. And I misjudged that one hard. So I did not make it all the way through. And of course, my internet went down for like 10 minutes or so. So that didn't help either. So that was a very interesting situation. So since you already brought it up, Italy, let's talk about Italy, because I think a lot of people watch at San Remo, always very popular. So in case you haven't watched it yet, there will be spoiler alerts in here, but I don't think that's going to be a concern. But basically, last night we have the winners. Mahmoud and Blanco won the 72nd edition of San Remo, or should say Festival de San Remo, with a very intimate ballad Brividi. And apparently it means goosebumps, I learned because I said in my reaction video, goosebumps. They're like, that's what it means. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They're taking home the statue, the golden lion one. You've seen it before, I'm sure. And they also confirmed, because with San Remo, you don't necessarily represent your country at Eurovision. If you win, you have the choice to make whether or not you want to do it. But to me, it came at no surprise that they decided, yes, we are going to Eurovision representing Italy as the host nation. Mahmoud had already a wonderful time the last time he was at Eurovision. In case you live under a rock or are new to Eurovision, he won San Remo in 2019 with the song Soldi, came in second place, not too far from winning it, actually. So pretty good experience. So yes, as mentioned, after 5 very long and I guess fun, exciting, depending on your definition of that, nights of San Remo, they had all 25 participants in the running perform their songs one final time. They performed them before, and then the televote was added after all have performed, and then a combination of the results of the 5 nights determined the top 25, and then they went through the show, starting with the 25th place, 24th, all that stuff, until only 3 songs were left. And then the top 3 went on to the super final, determined by the televote, press jury, and demoscopic jury. And yes, there has been then another vote. The 3 tops were Mahmoud and Blanco with Brividi, Elisa with O Forse Se Tu, and Gianni Morandi, 77-year-old performer with Apri Tutte le Porte. So, these 2 gentlemen, as you can see, were the winners in the end. And as pointed out, Mahmoud and Blanco were the fan favorites apparently early on already. People were going crazy over it. And ultimately, they never lost that fan favorite status, went through it, and ultimately won the entire contest. And yesterday, we still had that disclaimer. They are likely to represent Italy at Eurovision 22, but in the press conference afterwards, it was confirmed they will take part. There was a lot going on the show. They had, because 5 hours is a very long time. They had guests there, including Marco Mengoni from Eurovision 2013. They actually even mentioned the world's Nutella Day, very important. We need to celebrate that as well. And it was just a very interesting show. So my question to you, Gabe, is that your first time doing San Remo, or you already have experience.
So I would describe myself as a San Remo part-timer.
Yeah.
um, I find it very difficult to watch the entirety of San Remo. So what I'll tend to do is go through the performances, like in my own time, and then try to like dip in and out of the show on the night. And that's what I did. Um, it's exhausting, but I admire their commitment to the format. I think the one thing you can really say has been shown both by this year, and we'll get more onto the song itself in a minute, both by this year and previous years. I mean, if you look at their back catalogue at the minute, from like obviously Maneskin last year, Mahmood, Il Volo, going back a few years, these incredible, like, it is a format that works so well. I think Italy have replaced Sweden as the kind of Eurovision powerhouse of this era, the country that's really got the format right in the way that Sweden did beforehand. Um, and so it's long-winded, it's occasionally painful, but you come out the other end and it really, really works. And the quality of the songs again, I just thought was so high this year. So I enjoyed it, but I did not watch all 5 hours of it.
Okay, so yeah, I remember going on Twitter. I'm like, I'm gonna tweet throughout the entire show after 10 songs, like 2.5 hours into it. And I'm like, I gotta go. And it's different because I'm like 9 hours behind in time, so it's not even the middle of the day for me. But I got stuff to do, and I watch Melodifestivalen before there and all the shows. So I don't know how people can do it, but I admire them because I will say this: it was a very charming show. It's here in America, I find the shows too slick almost, right? There's very little personality. It's all just like boom, boom, boom. So I find this almost refreshing. Not saying they don't have a system because they even put the entire schedule, like when a song performs, the exact minute and all of that on a schedule. So you know when they're going to perform. But it is certainly, no American would have that kind of patience, patience, man. It would be crazy. So I kind of am somewhat guilty of that as well. But it was less even of patience. It was more about not having the time. But next year maybe I'll come more prepared. I don't know. I don't want to commit to that yet. But anyways, the show was fun, and as Gabe pointed out, he feels there were some really good songs. Before we even dive into all the other ones, obviously Brividi was the winner, the fan favorite. Therefore, going to Eurovision. And Gabe, what was your thought? Share your thoughts about the winning entry. Would love to hear it.
So I think it's a really beautiful ballad. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous song. It performed so well, and there's so much emotion. Um, I think one thing that really stuck out to me when I was watching the performer was you can tell when an artist is going through the motions versus when
Mhm.
they're really genuinely happy and enjoying performing that song. And you could tell they were really feeling it. They wanted to be there. They wanted to be performing this song. This wasn't just any, other performance for them. It really meant something to them. And I think that came across to the audience as well. With a song like that, I feel like that's really important. So it felt not just like the song was a pretty song, but that it meant something to the people singing it, like very sincerely. And that really, I think, draws you in when you're listening to it. So I think we'll get onto it. It wasn't my favorite. We'll get onto that in a minute, but a deserved winner.
A deserved winner, yes. So I listened to all of the songs afterwards as well. I didn't watch the whole show, but I listened to all the performances and watched them. And I did my reaction video shortly after. Initially, REI flagged the video, and then they released it again. But I am in love with, but I don't think it necessarily comes as a surprise. Maybe to a lot of people, it's just my kind of sound, anyways. If there's an emotional attachment to it, like as you point out, they meant the song, and what I like about it is also, and that is again, I feel always bad because we always bring Sweden into this, because they're not the only ones, but they're just so powerful, such a powerhouse in Europe when it comes to songwriting. When you see it Melodifestivalen, they have like 5 songwriters and then 6 more in the next song, and it's just like, this is a song that they wrote, basically, right? Mahmood, and it's their song, and it doesn't feel as contrived to me. Like, it just feels a whole lot more approachable. Now, I understand the song is not for everyone. If you don't get it as the emotional connection, maybe you don't, but I thought it was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I feel so happy only because I got a lot of slack last year for not being the biggest fan of the winning entry, which is so weird because every year Italy's usually one of my favorites, and then one year they're not. That's when they win. So I almost feel bad for liking the song because that means you're not going to win Italy. But anyways, you have a wonderful song, and I think that I'm not even speaking about winning a back-to-back kind of thing. That's number one, way too early to determine we only know 9 songs. Plus, in addition to that, you just never know how the combination of juice and televotes can, even the biggest favorite can flop, and that is why I'm like, I'm not ready yet to make any sort of determination or prediction yet. But I loved it, and I think Italy can walk into Turin. Italy is, that's already in Turin, but the representatives and the team, and say this is our song. We can be really proud of it, and you can be. I think this was very well done, and Italy once again a contender. A lot of people say, some people, not a lot of people, some people are saying that this is just a Eurovision fan wank, and people just love everything that Italy does, and then they're not gonna do well. I'm like, have you looked at their recent track record? I don't think that really lines up. Yes, of course, just like any country, sometimes they kind of don't do as well, like in 2016, but even that wasn't a disaster. I think since they returned, they had only one bad result in 2014. And since then, they've always been at the top, especially in the televote. So I expect good things for Italy as well here. And people in the chat, of course, as always, at ESC United, feel free to reach out so we know that you're talking to us. But going back to you, Gabe, you said you appreciate the song, you really like it, but it wasn't your favorite. Tell us what's going on. Who was your favorite? Why? And what's going on?
My favorite was O Forse Sei Tu.
What's the name of the artist?
Elisa.
Oh, Elisa. Okay.
Elisa was my favorite. And actually, when I listened through the performances for the first time earlier in the week, that was the one that jumped out at me, and I thought, well, that's going to win. I actually, I sort of, Brividi was one of those others that I thought, well, I think this is really strong, but I thought Elisa was going to win. Then obviously she won her semi-final as well. Not semi-final. She won like the second
Heat,
on the
whatever,
second
the
night. She was, you know what I mean. And I was thinking, okay, yeah, this is going to do it. I think it's really beautifully performed. I will admit, I'm a bit of when it comes to ballads, I think I do have I'll declare an inbuilt bias here. I do tend to prefer ballads sung by women. Just, I don't know, something just works for me better. But it for me, it just had something slightly more that Brividi doesn't. I mean, I don't think Brividi is, it'll finish in the top 10 very comfortably, but I really can't see it winning. It doesn't jump out at me as a song that can win. At the same time, I've seen that it's something like 5th in the Spotify global chart, so I could be wrong. Yeah, but no, Elisa for me was a clear favorite, and I think it's a shame she won't be there.
It's very interesting because I know I heard before the song came on Elisa and saying, this is the other favorite, this could win it, and I listened to it and I had the exact opposite reaction. I'm like, I'm not clicking with that one at all. It's just like, this sounds, I forgot about it. Like, even you ask me right now, I don't remember the song. So for me, it didn't click. But what I do remember is that I was a big fan of her voice, like, and her whole stage persona. Like, I was a big fan of hers. The song itself didn't click as much with me, so I was kind of like, yeah, I'm maybe not quite getting it. It wasn't bad or so. Interestingly enough, I just looked up the results because I didn't do it this morning. It's still morning here. She actually only came 3rd with the televoters in the final 3, so that is a surprise. So Gianni Morandi, let's talk about him also for a second. He is a 77-year old or young performer who I remember listening to the song. I was like, it's a fun, like, the people of a certain age would kind of enjoy it, but I didn't expect this one to go that high to the top 3, beating out 22 other songs. What were your thoughts when you saw that he was in the top 3? Was that a surprise, or you think that it's like something in Italy, like a fan base that we internationals don't even realize?
I think the thing we have to remember is that in every election, political or not, old people turn out and vote. If old people want something, they're willing to go to a polling station or pick up their phone and vote for it. And I think that's what we saw happen here. I think he will have done. He was very charming in
Yes.
exactly the way that if everyone imagine your grandmothers. Now imagine your grandmother seeing this on TV and just thinking, "Oh, he's a nice, lovely old man, isn't he? Oh, he's so sweet. Oh, he's so fun. I'm going to vote for him." And you should not underestimate the easily charmed grandma block, which was clearly in play here. I don't really think. I mean, I didn't get it at all. I'm not a fan of it. But it's one of these things where it's like I understand how it happened. Like I understand how we got here. I just kind of wish we weren't. And I'm very, very sorry to him because I know he's a national treasure in Italy, but he's not a national treasure in my living room.
So okay, got it. Oh, but one thing that Emma pointed out in the chat, I love that statement. She said it was a great top 3 this year because I love that it represented 3 different generations, and that is true. With the ultimate winners, Mahmoud and I keep forgetting his name, Blanco. I'll have it down by the time Eurovision comes around. There, of course, the youngsters, and then Elisa, she's like in the mid 40s, I think, or like I don't know how old she is, but she's like 43, 44. And then obviously the gentleman we just mentioned in the 70s. Like when I'm going to be 77 in a couple of years, I want to be like him because he just exudes this joy in life. Because when you think of 77-year-old, you think old grumpy, get off my lawn kind of dude, right? And he is the opposite. He just it's like yes, it's a song I would listen to, probably not, but I was in that moment. I felt it. And there was something I would put on again, maybe not, but when it comes on again, I would be with all the other folks like, yeah, what? So I just enjoyed it for what it was, I guess. So but I hear what you're saying. I hear it's not accessible for everyone. And even let's just say in a world where he would have ended up winning, I highly doubt he would have gone to Eurovision. I think he would have just said, I won San Remo, and that's about it. Matt blanking on Blanco. Yeah, I know the irony. I get it. Looking besides the top 3, I'm gonna ask you as well, Gabe. Other songs that were on your personal radar. I'm gonna mention 2 songs after listening to it that still stuck to me, and I will probably listen to it again. And first of all, I really, really like that. Oh gosh, I forgot. Irama he came in 4th place. I was like, oh, if that were to win over Brividi, I would be stoked. The singer, he just had this voice. It's like, oh my god, makes so look
Exactly
effortless.
what I was going to mention about that. His voice is so he has to come back because I want to see him at Eurovision.
Yeah,
He has to come back another year with another song.
it makes me mad because he's like just singing it, make it look so easy, and I'm like, fuck you. I wish I could do that. So I really liked it. And then my guilty pleasure of the night, and I always need my guilty pleasure, is Dagen D'Amico, Dolphe Sibaya. Oh my god! And in the studio version, I listen again. It's not quite as fun, but live, the way it just worked, I think you need live orchestra. I was like with the audience going crazy. And I remember when he was announced, 7th or 8th place, the audience was like, "Oh." And I was like, "Oh, that is so sweet." So I had a really, really positive strong reaction to him as well. And before I hand it back to you, Gabe, thank you so much, Sean, for the super chat. Got to read it. I got to see your immediate reaction before you had to blank the video. It was wonderful seeing you be blown away. Irama is making major waves. And rightfully so, right, Gabe? Handing it back to you. I'm glad I was still rooting for him because I didn't know that, again, I had no idea besides Mahmoud and Blanco and Elisa that they were favorites. I had no idea that there was a hype around Irama, so I get it, right? So what were you wanted to add anything to what you were saying?
I mean, but basically what I already said, I wanted to come back with a different song because I think there's so much potential there. And in the years to come, I think there's a few in there. There's the other one I was going to mention actually falls into the same kind of lane, which is that I can't remember his name. He was the 19-year-old kid, came first ever appearance at San Remo,
Hmm.
delivered a hell of a performance. Someone in chat tell me his name because I'm
What year was that? When
blanking.
was that? What year?
This year, it was a 19-year-old kid. It was his first time at
Oh,
San
the junior
Remo.
version of the Giovanni one that you talked, whatever it was called.
Yes,
No.
the one who came through that and was and
Okay.
performed this. I can't. My mind is
Matteo Romano.
yes. Matteo
That's what.
Romano.
Thank you, Collins.
Thank you. Yeah, Matteo Romano. And I think they fall into this state where they clearly have so much potential. I think the great thing about San Remo is you see people come back year after year. You see their improvement and their development as musicians.
Hmm.
I think that's one of the biggest positive cultures that San Remo brings to the contest, and what part of the reason why Italy is so successful is that there's no shame in, like, if you're an established British artist and you came second in a national final to go to Eurovision in Britain, you would never go back.
Yeah.
In fact, you would regret ever participating. But the fact that it's accepted and a part of the experience for artists to come back and try again, try something different and develop, I think is just really good. And so for Matteo and for Irama, I want to see them come back more in future years. I want to see them develop as artists, and I'd love to see them at Eurovision one day.
Yeah, Eurofan SF actually said Irama had the best song last year in San Remo. Well, subjectively to their taste, but apparently got COVID and could not perform. So he could have maybe been the winner last year. Who knows? Although, I mean, it worked out for Italy in the end, I read somewhere. So it definitely is very interesting. Yeah, I wanted to say something else, but my brain just blanked. But one thing I will also say about San Remo is, just applying, I'm not going to point out a specific other countries, but there are certain countries who have these national finals where they put songs forward they think that would could win Eurovision, right? Overthinking it. And then there are other nations who think to put forward songs that other cultures would like, and I'm talking about certain, like, sometimes you say, like, this is what they think is modern pop, and it seems forced and contrived. I feel like Italy has this healthy, we just put forward what we love and people will love it. And I wish more people would think down those routes, because we're all different people, different cultures, but we're not as different as people always think. So, and that Italy shows us that every single year right now. And even, let's just say, worst case scenario, Mahmoud and Blanco mess up on Eurovision Live and they come bottom 5 or whatever. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying worst case scenario. That still doesn't take away from the statement I'm making right now. It's still something that people already immensely are fond of. And sometimes things don't work out, but I have no doubt they're going to do well. But I'm just making that case. So that is definitely how I feel about it. Are there any artists for you, Gabe, in San Remo that you wish would return maybe in next year's edition? Somebody that you are fond of? That
So a guilty pleasure of mine was Roma Bangkok by Juicy Ferrari. And I don't really feel we delivered that level this year. So I'd like to see her come back. Like to see Juicy Ferrari back. Who else? Oh gosh,
that's okay. I don't mean to
put me on the spot now.
Yeah, I remember in 2015 when Il Volo won, the runner-up was a singer called Neck. I really like him as an artist, so I would love to see him back. He has never been to Eurovision, but I remember he had like a big hit in the 90s, which I really liked. So, but I just liked his music and his voice, so I would love to see him back. In terms of, if I were just to look at former Eurovision artists, of course, I'd love to see Francesco Gabbani back. I just always loved his personality and his style. That would be another one that I'd love to see back. I'd love to hear from everyone in the chat as well at ESC United now. Your thoughts, your questions about San Remo. Let me take a look at some of that. Adrian Fang is saying, San Giovanni Farfelle slaps differently, a deserving 5th place. Do you remember that song that came in 5th place? San Giovanni Farfelle? It doesn't ring a bell for me right now. I would have to watch it again.
You guys have got to understand. I've listened to like 70 national final songs in the last 48 hours. I am tired and my brain is burned to a crisp. And also for the last 2 minutes, the only thought I've had in my head was, what if we just brought back Bugo and Morgan and forced them to perform together again?
Who?
Bugo and Morgan, you know, the ones where they argued with each other on stage and then stormed off a couple of years ago.
In San Remo?
Yeah, did you not see? Okay, so they were performing this song together, and then the second time they performed it, one of them changed the lyrics so that to basically being like whereas one of them saying to the other one like, "You suck, you don't do any work, I'm the only reason you're here," and the other guy walks off mid performance.
Was
Then
that
the song,
staged or was it genuine like
no,
disagreement?
live, it was completely real, and then the music stops, and then the guy still on stage just goes, "What happened?" As if he has no idea what he's just done. So I want to see
Oh,
them back, but only together, or alternatively, let them have one place between the two, and like I don't know, put them in a room and make them fight to the death for it or something for like extra entertainment value. I mean, they've got 5 hours worth of show. You might as well put something extra in there.
that is interesting.
I'll send you the
I got
video
it.
later.
Yeah, I need to look that up. Thomas Labery is asking, "Hi guys, do you prefer Brividi over Arcade and Voila, or do you think it has more potential?" Gabe, I'm gonna throw that at you. If you had to pick between Brividi, Arcade, Voila, where are you landing? Personal taste as well as odds at Eurovision, I guess.
So Brividi has the worst odds out of all of them, in my opinion. Not to say that's a bad thing. That's a pretty illustrious company. But the fact is that Arcade is a winner, and Voila would be a winner in most years it was entered in most years that that if you
Yeah.
put it in, and only wasn't because of obviously the specific circumstances of last year, with Måneskin. So I would say that Brividi is my least favorite of the three, and also doesn't have the same chance. It's not winner material, in my opinion. I think it will do well, but it's not winner material.
Yeah. I'm getting and that's a compliment by the way, what I'm just about to say. Not the song, but just the odd vibes. I get more of a Emma Mata and I forgot the other guy's name from 2018 kind of vibe. Like
Fabrizio Moro.
Fabrizio Mora, thank you. Kind of more down that route. I can think that I've been going. And I think Italy would be okay not having a back-to-back win because it's exhausting, it's expensive. But as long as Italy keeps up their top tens and all that stuff, I think that will be just an excitement for them. So I would and as Olivia MacArthur mentioned, do you think that Italy will break the host country curse this year? My answer is absolutely. Sweden did it as well in 2016, so I think this one is easily right. Gabe, any doubt that they will fall to the same victim to the host curse?
They'll do much better than I think recent host entries have. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're going to do well. They're not going to win. But now I've said that, that's going to come back and bite me in May.
I know. Get that humble pie ready for you. Give it nice, cool, and chilled because you'll be eating that. Now, I hear you. We'll see how that goes. It's too early to say anyway because, we could have a really SHITTY year. We're really just, I think of 2011. Where it was widely considered a weak year, and then the votes were just all over the place, right?
Don't talk to me about that year.
Okay, thank you. I because I'm in the same boat. So we could have something similar. You never know. So, and then just by default. But I love that song anyway. So I am good to go. Let's talk though. We always spend a lot of time on Italy. We had more stuff happening yesterday, and we'll talk about Italy. Another country that starts with the letter I, Israel. And it was another long, drawn-out process that began in July of last year. Let that sink in. We finally have a winner, the victor of X Factor Israel. And the artist that will represent the country at Eurovision is Michael Ben David.
Baby, sometimes life can bring you down. Keep your head up. Keep your head up. You can say that I'm stunning. It's not a shame. Cause I know I am. I know I am. Cause I know I am.
So yes, there you have it. That is let's step back for a little bit. So it was decided through a series of duels. And there were 4 finalists: Michael Ben David, Eli Huli, Sapir Saban, and Inbal Bibi. They were always facing off in pairs, and I hate duels, but let's talk about it in a second. So in the first set of duels, the singers performed cover versions, actually not even their song, their Eurovision effort, and then the actual winner would then advance to the super final. That was Michael Ben David beating out Inbal Bibi, and in the second round, it was Eli Hooley beating out Sapir Saban. So the two guys moved on, and then the two remaining contestants, Inbal and Sapir, they battled it out in duel 3, which Inbal then won, meaning Sapir was eliminated at that point. And then the juries and the televoters were able to put their votes forward. And then ultimately, it was Michael Ben David with the song I Am winning. It was a very tense reveal of the rose because apparently the Eli Hooley was quite ahead with the juries, but then Michael Ben won the televote by you can I guess say landslide, and then once the points were combined, he won by 1 point, one lousy point, but that is enough. That is absolutely enough to win it, and therefore the televoters have spoken. Michael Ben David going to represent Israel with I Am, and I think we need to talk about it because there are a lot of opinions out there. Gabe, I saw your facial expressions when the clip came on. I'm worried I don't. What are your thoughts? Maybe I misread that.
I mean, to say the least, they chose the wrong song. This, I'm just choosing my words carefully. I don't like it. In my opinion, it feels a bit tacky. It's a bit circusy and then a dance beat. And that combined with the fact that Marionette was right there in that final, which would have gone so hard on the Eurovision stage, just I'm very unhappy. And I think the Israeli viewing public are an early candidate for worst taste of the year for me. I've listened to it a few times. I've tried very hard to enjoy it and failed every time. I think it's a big downgrade from last year. I think it's probably a non-qualifier. And it's just this feels like just such a disappointment when you had some really great songs really nicely put together in that final, and they were denied in favor of this.
Yeah. The song, as said, it's tacky, it's cliche, and it's very self-indulgent. And it is something that I absolutely fucking love. I am absolutely into it. Sorry, Gabe. I have absolutely to disagree with you, but I hear you on that one. The song, it's just like exactly the kind of sound. And I know a lot of people compare it to something like that you hear on like the Drag Race RuPaul. I don't watch that show, so I can't even comment on that. And usually I don't like this kind of sound per se either, but there is a whole lot more to it for this one. It is just fun, great performance, attitude. And I was just like, I get it. I absolutely get it. There is a reason why people were gravitating towards it. Will it be a very polarizing entry? Clearly, yes. There are two people on here, and we have very different opinions on that song. And that is, I think, how it's going to go throughout the entire community, the entire continent, I will say, actually. People will hate it with the burning passion of 15 Suns, and some people just think this slays, right? So, and I think that is not always a bad song. Thing that is not always a bad thing, because you rather want to be polarizing when people love or hate it, because haters will never vote a song out, right? You want to have people who are passionate about it and excited. And I think this song will actually do much better than people will think. You can make a case, maybe the juries will downgrade this one and it will be the downfall for it. At the same time, Michael Ben David is a exceptional singer. He sings it so well, and I can see a lot of support coming there as well. It really comes down to sometimes certain cases the juries just surprise you, so I'm not completely counting this one out. So I just really, really enjoy it, and it's, what do you call it, a guilty pleasure?
I think
I enjoy it.
I can see that, and it's actually the sort of thing that, because it's happened for me before, where suddenly it'll come on in the semi-final, and I'll hear it and go, "Yeah, okay," but I can't see that happening at the minute, personally.
Yeah.
And the person in chat who said, "But you are not able to dance and sing like him, are you?" At Gabe. Well, obviously not. That's why he's going to Eurovision, and I'm sat here talking about him.
Well, I can, but I don't want to embarrass
Here,
you.
but
I'm
then
not gonna do
you're
it.
sat here watching me talk about him. So, but yeah, no. In all seriousness, like it could grow on me, and I could be proven wrong, and maybe they'll revamp it. But I just at the moment, it just there's like I said, I think people will love it or find it kind of tacky, and we're at one each in those camps. I think here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, I'm almost in both camps. Like, I think it's tacky in certain ways because I don't like self-indulgent entries for the most part, right? I usually really find them grating and difficult, but for some reason, this is one of the rare occasions where it works. And one thing I will also point out is keep in mind, not everyone necessarily pays that close attention to the lyrics, right? They're just kind of like, I am not so they just remember parts here and there, and they will have a major revamp, right? So, and if they bring the ethnic sound in there that people just go nuts over, right, when Israel does it, it could be more of a golden boy kind of situation. I'm not comparing them style wise, right, but it could be the party anthem that people will actually gravitate towards more than you think. But I think I absolutely will not call this a certain qualifier. This is for me the biggest wild card so far. It could do much better than I don't want to call them haters because you can dislike something without being a hater, right? But the critics of the song could be completely right, but it could also be it's just a wave of support. So I have no idea where this falls and who is right. I will wait for the final version. I will also wait for all the other songs to come in because if we get and I always like if this becomes a very heavy ballad heavy year all of a sudden, which we don't have right now per se, but let's say the next 40 songs on the 40 35 whatever's left 34 will be mostly ballads. This could be just like the one, oh thank god I was just about to fall asleep. So there could be a lot of factors that we cannot even really consider right now. So it's on my radar, and I personally just have an appreciation for it. It is, as I said, the track is a little bit weak right now in terms of the sound. It needs to really get the punch to make it stand out more, but I know they already confirmed that's going to be the case. So I am excited. I would also love to hear some of the people's thoughts in the chat, always at ESC United, or questions if you want us to elaborate on it. So, but you were saying, Gabe, your favorite was Marionette.
Although it wasn't a great performance on the night, but it was the strongest studio version by far. I think it's a shame because I think performed well, it would have gone down so well on the Eurovision stage. It's sort of big, sort of that it had that kind of anthemic element for me, which I really enjoyed. I think the one thing that is a shame is that, just quickly, if you don't mind me saying, I've noticed a couple of people in chat. I just want to be completely clear. I might not like Michael Ben David's song, but as with all the performers in Eurovision, to make it to Eurovision, to make it to that level, with very limited exceptions, by necessity, you have to be an incredibly talented artist and an incredibly committed and incredibly hardworking. And nothing I say or Matt says is in any way negating that if we don't like something. Nobody is questioning the, artistic integrity of these performers. Or their motivations for going for the contest, and I wish them all the best. And if he does great, then I'll hold my hands up and say I'm wrong. But I'm not hating on him. I just happen to not like one of his songs. Yeah. And we all have different opinions, and that's okay.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because you point out Marionette. I actually liked her song that was eliminated better. What was it called? No, I forgot the name of the other song that she has in the running that was then voted out. That was my personal preference of her entries of Inbal. So when Marionette was chosen, I was a little bit bummed out myself. After watching all the live performances, I already, and seeing the jury results, I was already preparing myself. Okay, it's going to be Eli Hooley, and that song grew on me a lot. And I was been like, yeah, it may not be as exciting as to me as David's song, but I would have actually quite liked that one as well. Would have been more like upper half at this point, probably. But I would when day one, I was just like, oh my god. I was stoked. Yeah, again, a wild card to me. Pop Aaron is saying it is so strange how many of the songs that are released so far need a revamp. So huge surprises might come in mid-March. So the revamps we know, Gabe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know we have at least a third of the songs chosen so far will have a revamp, which includes Albania, Israel, and now North Macedonia also said that they're going to have a revamp. Am I missing anybody?
I'm looking at the list quickly to see if I can think of any. So of the remaining ones, I guess I could see Ireland taking a look at That's Rich. I mean, we'll come on to it in a minute. Of the others, I don't think Stubbs and Stubb will be changing anything. Chanel won't be. Brividi, no. And Intelligent Music Project, there's nothing that they could change to save that, so they don't need to. So other than that, I can't see any others. Oh, and Ireland is getting a revamp, says somebody in chat.
Oh, Ireland as well? Yeah. That is interesting. So then that's a good transition because the third country that we want to talk about is Ireland. It's like all the eyes. It's like, do they have national finals alphabetically this year? It's just like three eyes. It's Ireland is also something that we probably should consider because we have had the show a few days ago. And let's backtrack here for a second. So the winner was Brooke Scullion. She won on the Late Late Show, the first national final in quite some time. Will represent Ireland with the song called That's Rich.
That's rich when it's coming from you, and that's rich. Well, I got nothing to prove. That's rich. You think I dress up for you, and that's rich.
Some connections, I guess. So yeah, the votes were combined from a studio jury, as I said, an international jury, and a public telephone vote from both Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. And then the 12 points were assigned, 10 points, etc. And then the combined result, Brooke got 28 points overall, even though only 4 from the studio jury. And then there was a tie for second place, basically between Miles Graham and Janet Grogan with 24 points. Wasn't a landslide win, but ultimately the 2 12-pointers were enough for her to get ahead of the game. I hate I was putting you first to comment on these, Gabe, but do you want to go ahead? What are your thoughts on Ireland?
Above everything else, I mean, it's good that they're getting a revamp for it. That I think was necessary. The song, like for me, it doesn't light my fire. I don't dislike it. I think the key thing here is, and I'm not going to go for all out rant here because I know that you also want to talk about this, but you can tell a country is deliberately trying not to succeed in Eurovision when they reheat a 6-year-old national final format and then put no money into it whatsoever. They stick it on a pre-existing show with a stage that looks like it took 10 minutes to build. Very little staging, not really great setup for the artists. Look, I think what a shame, what a disservice to the, young budding artists in Ireland who want the chance to show off what they can do to the world. What a shame that their country is not willing to back them at all. We've had their delegation in the past say, "Oh, we can't afford to win it, so we don't want to." The lack of ambition, it filters down into every element of the process, and it's such a shame for these really talented people that their talent is being squandered in this way. Because if they don't change, then those people will just find other avenues to be successful. They'll find other ways to get their music out to the world. And good luck to them, because right now RTE does not deserve them.
All right. Now tell us how you really feel though. And then the funny thing is, Gabe and I briefly spoke before the live stream went on, and I was going to say the exact same thing. I'm very disappointed. I was thrilled when I saw that Ireland went back to a national final, and then bummed out when I saw that they decided to go back to the method of having that at the late show with very bad staging, very bad sound quality, very bad song selection. Kind of like they used what didn't work in the past, and they're like, yeah. And what Gabe just said makes perfect sense, and it adds up. I'm like, why would you do that? And I feel as there is a middle ground between not winning and coming last in the semis. You know, you can send a decent effort and you're not going to win. Plus, if you win, then what? You can say, sorry, can't afford it. The countries have done that before. Has it been a while? Yes, because a lot of countries are eager to win. And when they win, they host it. But you have the option to say, sorry, we don't have the budget for it. And then it'll be given to somebody else. So I find this excuse of we cannot afford to win a bullshit response. And I mean, not from you, of course, yeah, but from them, I think that's their mindset. And that pisses me off more than anything because Ireland deserves more. And that is why I'm sure those in the chat, if you watched my reaction video that I did with the original songs, I was not like thrilled with the selection overall. But interestingly enough, Brooke song out of the 6 songs that were in the running, out of a lackluster run through, was still my least favorite. And then my least favorite ends up winning. So this is nothing against Brooke because I actually thought that she has a great stage presence, right? She has some attitude. I really liked it, but the song makes me jump out of a window, actually. So I'm not just always just unicorns, farts, and rainbows. You know, the song to me is just exactly the sound that drives me nuts, that is trying hard to be relevant, but it sounds like a bad 80s song at the same time. I'm hoping that they're going to revamp the shite out of it. I'm cursing a lot today. I need to be careful before I get flagged. But I really just don't care for that song, unfortunately. And I was actually a big vocal supporter of the last 2 efforts that Ireland put forward. I just really liked Leslie's music. But on this one, I'm really, really struggling, which is unfortunate because on paper, I really want to root hard for Ireland because number one, I want to go there badly. I've never been. And number two, who doesn't like an underdog? And Ireland, let's be real here, in this day and age, is an underdog. The most successful country at Eurovision considered an underdog. So it is kind of interesting. Was there another song, Gabe, that you would have chosen, or you think, according to your taste, that was the right choice?
So my favorite, I'm going to preface it. This was my favorite, but it was absolutely right that it didn't win, and it didn't go to Eurovision because it would have done terribly. Was "I'm Loving Me," which was cheesy as all hell and incredibly dated, but for some reason it's just been stuck in my head all week. I really enjoyed it, but it would have done really badly. So quite glad it didn't win, and I can just sort of keep it lovingly in my memory where it should be. So that's the one that stuck out in my mind. I'm not sure why that in particular. It was nice to see Brendan Murray back as well. I wasn't a huge fan of the song, but it's just nice to see him still about. And and I saw him live when I was at the contest in 2017. I saw him sing live, and he's a really good, really talented artist. And he has a really gorgeous voice, actually. So I hope he comes back with something that properly does him justice.
Yeah. By the way, Jakas, I saw your comment. So it's probably going to win Eurovision if Matt hates it so much. How dare you? You're right, but how dare you? No, it's because of last year. Because honestly, it's actually not a trend because I loved Arcade, I loved Toy, I loved Salvador song. So I had a really good 3-year run. Just 1 year, it kind of dropped off. So it happens. But maybe this year I'm back on track. But it's funny. Yeah. So again, there was not. Yeah. Right. I didn't have like a strong feeling about any of the songs. In the studio version, I enjoyed Miles' song the most, but I do understand it was a little repetitive at some point. But I did enjoy it enough, and I thought it was a little bit more memorable. I had no idea I have no idea if it would have done well at Eurovision. Any song in the running, unfortunately, I was worried would have a hard time qualifying. Maybe every once in a while they have this revamp of a song that just completely changes almost like the entire composition. So maybe it happens here and they'll win me over. But yeah, I wasn't thrilled with that choice. And I love 80s sounds, right? But this is just this one doesn't work for me, unfortunately. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. We already talked so much, so we got to move on to the next songs we have in Q&A session. We got to talk about the semis real quick as well. We had another song that was chosen a few days ago, and they've had a national final for the first time in. Do you even know when the last time North Macedonia had a national final, Gabe? Top of your head? No,
No
me
idea.
neither. Me neither. But basically, about a week ago, they presented 6 songs. Not this week ago, like about 10 days ago. But now, the North Macedonia broadcaster presented 6 songs from the national broadcaster of North Macedonia. And straight after they were presented, the public could vote online which song they wanted to see in turn. And now, 1 week later, they gave us the results. It's now been a few days, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it live. And ultimately, Andrea with Circles was chosen. It was a very interesting process because the juries picked Andrea with 12 points, and then the televoters picked Victor with Superman, and both Andrea and Victor were tied at the end. And then the tiebreaker were the juries, actually, not the televoters.
Ooh,
So
I don't
it
like
was the
that.
televoters overruled the masses, I guess, if you will, and Andrea Circles won.
You don't wanna test my limits, but something tells me you're not listening. Probably you're going crazy. It's all you've been doing lately.
Today, or over the past few days, that is not the final product. But that is the decision that has been made. Let's talk about the song, Gabe. The floor is yours. What are your thoughts?
Great voice, firstly. She's got a good voice, she's powerful and she's invested in it. But and in fact, Turtle Jones in chat has just said exactly what I was about to say. Give it a stronger drop. We get to that chorus and we get that terrible, like, free sample beats.com drum beat, and then like a really underwhelming synth as the backing. It's like she has the voice. Give her the tools, and we've got the revamp, so they have a chance to do this. She has the voice. Give her the tools to make it great, and she'll be able to do it. They just aren't giving her that right now. So I really hope that they massively change up the instrumentation in the revamp, and then we could go from, at the moment, a sort of not really in the mix song to something that can be really strong. They have the chance to do that. Let's hope they do it. But it needs a proper top to bottom. The instrumentation has to completely change, in my opinion.
Okay. That's a fair assessment. It was very interesting because I also had a reaction video to the 6 songs as they were released. And you know how I said in like an island, my least favorite out of the 6 one. I still think that North Macedonia also had a uninspiring run of songs. Circles also was my least favorite, and it won. It's like, oh, that was a very bad day for me. I was like, I made a funny, like, a salty tweet, something about, so we're going back to Italy, right? And that one went like big because people were making fun of me. I'm like, I'm just being salty, get over it. But yeah, I was just really, really disappointed by the outcome. And here's the thing, I cannot connect with the song at all. The melody is, I wouldn't say non-existent because there's a melody, but it's just very the drop, as you point out, because like the verses to the chorus is like, it just kind of moves on. And I do like intensity on the song, and she's very angry as the way she sings, but it's almost at a point where it's almost off-putting to me. It's just like, I'm getting a little pushed away by the way she performed it. Not her vocals or anything. It's just a very odd intensity that keeps me away from the song rather than inviting me into her anger, if that makes any sense. It's just one of those things where it's just like, I can't get into it. Yeah, I just think it's a very lackluster melody, a very lackluster composition. Melodically, the arrangement wise, there is nothing for me to hold on to. And at this point, I'm really, really worried for North Macedonia. I wanted to root for them. At the same time, I understand that the song selection was very, very unappealing. They just really sent, and one of the examples, like it feels as they send songs that they think a lot of people will like, rather than just coming up with something that they comes from the heart, comes from the artists themselves. And it just was a bad selection. So maybe for mainstream purposes, this was the better choice. But it does suck when it didn't even come. It came only third with the televoters, and then ends up winning after a very weird setup there. You know, like the juries overruled the televoters, and the tiebreaker, it should have been the televote in my view. Gabe, did you watch? Did you listen to all of the 6 songs, or only to the winning entry?
So I listened to a few of them. There are a few of them that I was listening to them, but I was just I found them incredibly boring. Most of them,
Mm-hmm.
actually. The only two that really stick out in my head that I remember are Circles, because I've listened to it more because it's the entry,
Mm-hmm.
and Superman,
So
which
yeah, came second.
I-
Yeah.
yeah, in my opinion, it's fun. It's not great, but it should have been the entry because you can't have juries overruling televotes. The other thing is that I'm going to defend her slightly on the intensity, just because, I mean, particularly I'm thinking about in the music video, the sort of lyric video that they did, the intensity in which it was off-putting in some ways, but also I think the setup was very weird. They clearly just got them to stand in a room,
True.
look at a camera, and basically lip sync. And that's a difficult thing to do, and I don't blame them massively for that. So in the context of the full stage performance and with a huge revamp, I still have some hope, but I've got to say I'm not that optimistic either. I agree with you. I'm quite worried at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I mean, I agree with you. It is, you can only judge by what we have right now, and they can fix a lot of the staging with the energy, the off-putting part that I mentioned. And maybe, and I've seen it before, where a revamp comes in and it almost changes the song completely, and it could happen. So I'm withholding final judgment, but in its current carnation, it's just like, it's very difficult for me. It's that kind of song, it's uncomfortable for me, so I need to skip it. Again, nothing against the artist. She's a good singer, as you pointed out. It was just not a good song. And yes, I also had Superman as my favorite, which seems like, okay, Matt, there's a pattern with you. You know, Israel and now Superman, all these tacky songs. I'm like, but the reason North Macedonia, it was just the only song that stood out to me. Like that had really like an impact, while the others just kind of float around. There was this ballad, what's called Flower of Sorrow, I think. That was nice. I think it was my number 2. But it was also on the forgettable side, but it was at least pretty and all that stuff, but it just wasn't also as impactful as it should have been. And it's always upsetting because North Macedonia often sends really good music at junior. And then they come here to the adult version and we're like, we suck. And once again, I think the vast majority of Eurovision fans are team North Macedonia because we all love a good underdog, right? So, and you want every country to have their turn in the sun. Yes, they've recently had it with in 2019, but not quite with the televoters. I want the televoters, the fans, go crazy over a song, and I don't think it will happen this year, unfortunately. But maybe they'll prove us wrong.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go. I had nothing. I had nothing left interesting to say. Continue, please.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about, because I could just keep going back and forth about the same topic, but I think we kind of summarized it. Let's see some of the comments at ESC United in the chat. Green Oscar is saying, do you think the juries being the tiebreaker is a tie is the biggest crook of SHET ever, especially being an international jury? Should always be the televote over juries, in my opinion. And let me just answer first, then I'll let you answer, Gabe, because I have a very strong opinion, because I'm more of a vocal proponent of juries at Eurovision. I'm less of a proponent of juries in national finals. I think these are two very different concepts, and the purpose of a jury in Eurovision, it differs from the ones in a national final. And I agree, it should be very much what the people wants to say. And I understand sometimes there is an artist that has this big fan base and it seems unfair. So I'm not completely opposed to it, but ultimately it should be the people's will. And even if the song flops at Eurovision, at least the people decide on it and they will then stand behind it. If you have completely a jury pick the song, there will always be that bad aftertaste, right? And that's what we have in Spain, that have we in North Macedonia, and in a lot of other places, especially when there's a huge difference in votes. I mean, in Spain, we talk about, you know, the televote favorite got like what 78% of the votes, and the actual winning song Chanel you got 3 or 4%. You know, like think of that. That is a huge. The number is just so big. The difference that I understand. So, and I'm not even saying that juries are up for there's some malicious thing there. It's just they put forward what they think is best. I get that, but there's always perception. Perception can be reality to people. So I'm always just very careful with national final juries. I'm not attacking the Eurovision juries. That I have a lot to say about that as well, but those are two different animals. But to get to Green Oscar's point, I agree. They shouldn't have had such major power, especially when there's a tie anyways. Then give it to the people. It's just common sense to me. And it happened before in other countries as well. And it's just, ugh. Sorry, Gabe, go ahead. I'm done ranting.
No. It's fine because I agree. Another egregious example I think I can think of this. This one was particularly blatant. Much as I love, disclaimer, I love Zina Kiprianovic and I loved Like It. But that night, she was the first song to perform. It was all jury vote. They had 6 jurors who each gave a score out of 10. She got 5 10s and a 9. She was the first song of the night. After that, well, it's like this entire national final is pointless now. We can all very clearly tell that was the song they'd chosen before the show. And it was just an internal selection on TV. If you want to do an internal selection, do an internal selection. Don't make us sit through the farce of a national final when you're not going to go with what people want anyway. Just release the song and, have some fanfare about it and be done with it. Don't get everyone else's hopes up or, have all this circus for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, do it properly and have a televote or don't bother, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's pretty annoying. But yeah, that's just... we cannot control it. Hopefully the broadcaster, sometimes you have to learn from failure, but I don't know. We've seen so many broadcasters and delegations who don't learn from it. And so I wish that would be the case. We shall see. Pop Aaron is saying, off topic, but did you see the televote percentage of Benidorm? Yeah, I was mentioning because Tara got 70% and it's so iconic and deserved. Yes. Tara got like more than 70. Didn't I get like 77, I want to say, or something like that?
It was like...
And then the second place, which was my personal favorite, Mama, she got like 18. So between them, they got like 96% of the vote. Not 96, but in the 90s. Like those two, I mean, Tara, obviously the clear televote winner. And then distant second was Mama, and then nobody else. Right? So the other ones had like 3, 2, 1, 0. So that was the very extreme example. And that's why it shows it's not a good system, especially if you want to do that 50-50 kind of thing, that's fine. But then you have to also apply points proportionately. Like if they get 70% of the vote, they should get 70% of the points in the system, not just like 12 or whatever set number they created for that. Because we knew from the beginning.
Sorry, you finished.
The last thing I want to say is just we knew from the beginning, once a jury came in, that Tara would have no shot anymore, unless it would be really odd voting, but it was unlikely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, another example I can think of this, obviously the contest got cancelled, but I remember the day of Eurovision Twitter apocalypse when Metana didn't get selected in Albania in 2020.
Okay.
Because one juror put it last, and that knocked it off top spot because a single juror decided they wanted to firebomb it.
Yes. Because it's certainly, if you don't like it, it wasn't the last place, yeah.
Yeah, it was the dumbest thing ever. So just get rid of the juries, just have a public vote, and certainly don't, okay, this is the stupidest thing, when they make it so that the public and the jurors get 12 points each, so you have a maximum score of 24. That system only works if you have tons of votes. If you have 2 votes, then it's just stupid. It's like, stop insulting everyone's intelligence. I'm getting angry again. I need to stop.
Yeah. Breathe out, smile. So no, but I mean, we're on the same page on this one, because then, like, if you really want to have the jury so much power, let them have an internal selection, and then have them vote internally. Albania kind of learned its lesson from the outrage, almost, because now they're like just announcing the top 3, right? They don't even give like the detailed results because they know that this is not the most transparent and fair setup. But that's just like, it is what it is, Like I almost have more appreciation for that. Like, you don't like it, touche. But yeah, I think we are on the same page here. Before we I see a lot of general questions. Let's just go through some of the semifinals real quick. I know we're already an hour into this, but good questions. One of the semifinals we yesterday was the first Melodifestivalen show, semifinal one, 7 acts. battled it out, and as always, 2 of the acts would move on to the direct final, basically, and 2 to the second chance round. So let's talk about this. Gabe, what were your impressions of the songs?
So, I mean, I think there was a clear best song, and I don't think it was what anyone expected, but Hold Me Closer by Cornelia Jacobs was the best song in that semi-final by an absolute mile, and I mean a mile. Like, it was unheralded coming in, and then it blew everyone away, in my opinion. It blew the rest of the acts away. When it was the first qualifier, when it was the winner of the semi-final, it did not surprise me at all. Big disappointments. Number one flop of the night, the voting system, which we'll get on to. I was really sad to lose Malu Pritz, but I think that's just because I like Malu Pritz and not because I like Bananas, which was her weakest effort of the 3 songs she's done so far.
Yeah. And also, just as a disclaimer, apparently the online vote did not work. They had issues, so they were not counted, which could have had a major impact on the outcome, because there were some surprises, because just Cornelia Jacobs with Hold Me Closer qualified first. She was the winner of the night. And then Robin Bengtsson's Innocent Love was the second song of the night going through, with Theo's Somme du Ville and Danis Strahed Halabalu going to second chance round. So Malu Pritz is out, Omar Rutberg is out, and Shirley Clamp is out. Looking at the... let me go first on this one. I mean, I agree completely with you, Gabe. That was hands down, by far the best song and performance of the night. Cornelia, she stood out. The rest was kind of more like meh. I did also my initial reaction to the snippets, and I had her as a C based on my taste, based on the short snippet I heard. But I did say she could go all the way. She would be the wild card. I mean, could go all the way flopping, because it's a song has potential, but it really comes down to performance. And she proved me right, at least on that one, that she really nailed it and she did well, and absolutely deserving winner. Robin Bengtsson, to me, the song was very empty, but I knew he's going. It's Robin Bengtsson that put him last, that wanted him to go through, obviously. And that is just me, but some people like the song. I get it, but I don't think that if this would have been the second song of the night performed by Olaf, the unknown janitor, that this would have done anywhere. I don't know. So it's just, it just was a disappointing song for me, but nothing against Robin. He's a nice guy. I met him in 2017. Just the song didn't work for me. So how do you feel about Robin's song?
I wouldn't have put it through. It was my sort of probably 5th favorite of the night. I did watch the semi-final, and I thought Cornelia would go through no problem, and she did. Robin, though, I was actually quite surprised, just because I don't get the Swedish thing of loving Robin Bengtsson.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get what they see in him. Like, I mean, his song in 2017, it was good. I enjoyed it at the time, but it's aged like milk, and I can't listen to it now at all. As for the song this time, it gave me nothing. The last year's song, or was it 2 years ago that he was last in Melfest? The last one he did in between, yeah. I enjoyed it. And
me too.
I was like, I get why people are liking this. I get why people think it could do well. This, to be honest, I would have rather had Olaf the janitor than Robin Bengtsson. I also found it really funny how Victor Kroner was sitting there next to him, clearly thinking, shit, if I don't qualify here, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah, that's always a lot of pressure. Yeah, I can only imagine. I feel bad for Malu Pritz, and she seems like a sweet girl, because she was a surprise qualifier a few years back, right? Nobody thought she was going to be direct qualifier, and then she did. Then she came back and was second chance, didn't make it. Now she was eliminated right away. So I feel as her Melodifestivalen career for the time being has come to a close, which makes me really sad. But when you enter that this could happen. I thought that Omar Rutberg would be the second qualifier. I thought that he has the youngster votes, right? And it was a song that is, yes, very Melodifestivalen-y, but very that's why I thought this is going to go through. And it was enjoyable enough for what it was. He's not the greatest singer, I will say that as well. But he did fine enough, I guess. So I was shocked initially that he didn't make it, but once I found out that the online votes were not counted, I guess now it's all making sense a little bit. Who would you have put through if it were you as the second direct qualifier?
So the second direct qualifier, I cannot believe I'm saying this. I would have put Somme Duville, which we haven't talked about yet, as the second qualifier. It was so catchy, and it has been in my head all day today. Like, I didn't know what to expect of it beforehand, and it kind of felt, it sounded to me it felt a bit like a junior Eurovision entry. But it was just so catchy, and I found myself really enjoying it, whether I wanted to or not. So that would have been my second direct qualifier. My second chance semi-final, whatever you want to call it, picks would have been Bananas, and then I guess Robin Bengtson. The others, I don't think Omar had a great night, and Shirley Clamp, Melfest legend. All respect to her, but it's time to stop.
Yeah,
it's over. It's done.
It's done. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. There's certain artists, unfortunately, nothing against them, but what's her name? Linda Bengtzing. She has another song. She has had a really good run, and then she just kept flopping, and now she's back again. But at the same time, maybe just winning isn't everything. Maybe it's great exposure to them, and they have a local market that they can still support. So we always think in Eurovision terms, but I'm sure there's more to it. Out of the list next week, who is there anyone that you're looking forward to, Gabe? The biggest names are in there probably is Liamo, who has taken part twice. Lisa Ajax is returning, Alvaro Estrella, and John Lundvik. I am definitely interested in John Lundvik. I mean, I loved Too Late for Love, but I'm very surprised to see him performing a song in Swedish, because that leads me to believe that he is not necessarily aiming for a win. Because if you want to win in Melodifestivalen, you have to sing in English. So maybe it's really just exposure. And he's at a point now where I just want to put forward something that I love. So maybe it's a little bit more down that route. I don't know. Anyone that stands out to you, Gabe?
I was going to bring up John Lundvik. I think we all remember his fate. I think we all remember that unfortunate moment when, and it was a bit unfair to put him on screen, the moment he learned he'd lost Eurovision.
That went viral, yes. I still kind of use it. I feel terrible for being a bad person, but yeah.
It's really
just, you
funny,
cannot
though.
deny it. You can't. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take over, but it's a genuine, I don't necessarily like this whole, good for you, you won the Oscar that I was dreaming of my entire life. I said in my last week, like, I'm not going to go to a job interview and good job, you got my dream job that I will not get, and I have to put both your backs together. Like, I'm so happy for you. Of course I would make a face. I'd be like,
It's a completely understandable reaction.
Yes, I don't hold him against it at all. It's not a bad loser.
I don't know if you ever seen that episode of Friends where Joey Tribbiani doesn't win an award and he starts like slamming his hands on the table and being like, "This is bullshit," and then he realizes he's on Joey Tribbiani in Friends, and then he realizes he's on the screen and he sort of goes like, "Oh." Anyway, that's besides the point. The point is, I'm excited for John Lundvik. I want to see what John Lundvik does. I don't really get the connection between John Lundvik and Destiny. They were different countries with different styles of songs. I'm not sure why that was brought up. But John Lundvik. I'm looking forward to, just because Liamo is Liamo. Other than that, there's not much that sticks out for me. I'm looking more towards, we mentioned Linda Bengtzing. Obviously, Anna Bergendahl is back, but they're in the third and fourth semis. So, I'm hoping for a slightly stronger performance overall. Oh, Destiny's face during the results. Yeah, that was a huge flop for her. But you got to remember the amount of pressure. I think it's different because of the amount of pressure that was being put on Destiny.
I know. I thought she was smiling. She's like, I'm just about to throw up, but I'm smiling. It's okay. She's like, I hated the whole Eurovision 2021 because did they really have to show everyone's face of getting 0 points? It's just like, it's great TV, and they're gonna keep doing that. I know that, but I hate that. I feel like it deters people from going because I'm like, I don't want to be there putting my name out there, getting 0 points and being like almost laughed at. We all do that. Oh, I feel so bad for them. Good for them, and we all do that naturally because we feel bad for them. But I don't like that. Just show the face of the top 10 or whatever, but don't show everyone being miserable. That's just my opinion.
You're right. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. That's it. Okay.
I think. Yeah, no, it's fine. Go. I agree with. All I'm going to say is I agree what William Carter said in chat, and I'm not going to go into it.
Okay. I don't know what it was. So the the other shows we had were Norway, Slovenia, Latvia, and Estonia. I couldn't watch them all. I think, did I miss anything? Those were the other four. Oh, and Lithuania. Yeah, it was a super Saturday, all right. So I didn't watch. I still have to catch up on a lot of them, so I haven't watched them yet. The only one I listened to prior to is Estonia. So my favorites went through for the most part. Well, 3 out of 5, but my clear favorites went through. So I am okay with that, except one, but I didn't expect that one to go through. I forgot even the names because it's just it's just songs. But I will have to listen to the the finalists now again. How about you, Gabe? Which one did you watch? Do you have any thoughts on the ones
Um,
remaining?
So I've got a few thoughts on Melody. I can't say it in a proper Norwegian accent. So I'm just gonna be Melody Grand Prix. Oh, where'd Matt go? That was just me. Anyway, yeah, no. So Melody. Oh, he's back. Hello.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It
uh,
happens when they do a refresh here. Sorry about that.
It's fine. So Melody Grand Prix. I think there's some really exciting songs in there. Made of Glass is great. Hammer
We
of
are
Thor.
made of glass. I can't help it. I always break into Harvey from 2016 Israel.
Oh no, the one I go to is Lydia Isaac. We're all made of stars. No, that's not what I mean. Falling Stars. That's it. For some reason,
Oh,
I think
Falling
of that.
Stars.
But I think
Moldova?
that's two. I think it's the same path. Though. I think my head goes Made of Glass, Made of Stars, Falling Stars. So there's that. Hammer of Thor is another great one. Sounds like it should be a metal song, but it's not, which is a shame. But it's still a lot of fun, a little repetitive. I also want to highlight there's the song with the wolves in it, where they're singing about giving wolves bananas, and one of them is called Keith, and no one knows who they actually. Subwoofer is the name of the band, and no one knows who these people are. They are completely anonymous. There's like some speculation that and I can't pronounce the guy's name. So there's some speculation that one of them is this Norwegian singer, but nobody knows who these people are. But the song is really catchy.
It is odd.
Yeah, so those are my sort of ones to look out for. There's also some out of the pre-qualifiers for the final. I really like Death of Us by Elsie Bay. And I also listened to Someone by North Kid, which I enjoyed, but that's not my favorite. Overall, I'd say Made of Glass is like my number one top pick. And I don't think it's Elvis because it's not an Elvis style Fox thing. And also, what does the Fox say? That was like a decade ago. We really need to move on from that.
Has it been a decade?
Yeah.
Oh, shut up,
Gangnam
Gabe.
Style came out 10 years ago.
Oh, gosh.
I'm so
All right,
sorry.
we're going to politely move past this. And what about next week? So I'm just going to let everyone know the songs that there could be more, but the one we know will be chosen by next weekend is Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, Austria. That's just semi one. Let's keep scrolling. Estonia. Well, that's 5, and I'm sure some others will be maybe at least 5, but I'm sure we're getting more like internal selections as well. But which one are you really excited about? Like finding out.
So I really want Latvia. Can't believe I'm saying this. To pick "Eat Your Veg" by Citizeni, and at the risk of this being clipped out of the stream, out of context, and posted on Twitter, there's something I really want, it to go to Eurovision. So the whole of Europe, I can't wait to see Twitter explode when in front of the whole of Europe, the good guy opens with the first line of the song, which, as we all know, say it with me now, is "Instead of meat, I eat veggies and pussy."
I had no idea. It's just
"Eat Your Salad." That's the name of the song. Yeah, sorry, I got it wrong. And now the irony is
I wish almost you wouldn't told me because I'm still doing my reaction video. So
oh, sorry, don't worry. Pretend I didn't. Pretend you hear it. The obvious.
I'm gonna
reaction,
pretend like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I don't pretend. I don't.
The
pretend.
obvious irony of that being that it'll be the whole room will be singing along. Of course, most of that room not being able to relate to that second thing at all.
Maybe I think of a pussy cat. I
Okay.
tried. That's the best I could. That's all I could do.
But yeah, no. So but the song, in all seriousness, is actually really catchy, and I really enjoy it. It's a bizarre line, and
I wonder if they would have to change it
it's
for Eurovision. I
shocking.
put the EBU probably would say something different about that potentially.
I think they'll try and make an excuse. They will try and make an excuse. Say,
Yeah.
oh, maybe they'll say, no, we are talking about cats. Then it's a song about eating cats. So I'm not sure whether that's any better. So I'm looking forward to that.
Now thinking about it, I'm kind of regretting saying that as well. So anyway.
The other one I'm looking forward to is I'm interested to see in Estonia how Stig and Alina and Ott Lepland do. It'd be interesting to see, we've got 3 previous participants in there. It'd be interesting to see if any of them make it. I know particularly Stig has tried a few times now to go by himself. So I'd be excited to see if any of them can pull it off.
Yeah.
How about
I don't
you?
think Alina has a shot at all. But I could see Ott Lapland winning the jury vote and potentially squeezing through. But I could see Stefan, who's been trying for 15 years now, I think, to how long ever. He could be surprised. Not surprised right now, but I think he could be the one who finally gets it this time around. I also saw that one clip now speaking about Estonia. I know Elina Nechayeva, she had her performance and then she fell, but was it planned?
I don't believe it was planned. I think one of the supports she wasn't that high in the air, luckily, but I think one of the supports
it was like
snapped.
2 meters, I would say, right? At least.
I mean, she's all right.
Yeah.
She was fine, but yeah, I mean, the thing is for Alina is I don't know why she's going back. How are you ever going to top La Forza, which was incredible?
I mean, you can top it with 8th place. You could do better than that, but it's still great. But no, I agree with you in terms of quality. I think it's just such an epic, and it will always remain like a little part of the Eurovision history books, right? People will always talk about that. But as she wanted to reinvent it as an artist, not just the opera singer, right? Although she has operatic part in the song, but it's not as prominent as in the other. It's more like a little bit. She cut her hand falling, people are saying. So it was an accident. So that is scary because she did amazing. She fell on her feet and walked like nothing happened. It looked like it was part of the show, right? But just the fact that you heard that snapping sound, and you're just like, oh, it was scary. That's why they don't do it at Eurovision. They wouldn't do that at Eurovision. Right. For that reason, they don't have anyone. They do for inner acts and all that stuff, but not for actual performances usually. So for a reason.
And the thing is that the sort of standards that they implement for that kind of thing will be so much higher. The amount of risk assessment. Because I imagine, if you think about the paperwork that must go in, the amount of risk assessments they must do on all the performances. I'm thinking for example, Sarah Alto a few years ago, with that giant spinning wheel that she was strapped to, and then that fall.
But she was snapped into like really snap. She wasn't just like one little belt. She was like,
And they needed 20 seconds to dislodge her from that thing.
Yes. That is definitely, No, I get it. So you have to be a little bit more creative. Okay, that's just a few things we want to talk about. I think we're good on anything else you wanted to mention on the semiscape, or that's what you had? Because I didn't watch any of the other songs. I still got to do Slovenia, Latvia, Lithuania. I haven't seen any of that.
I think I have loads to catch up on as well. It's just great to see so many countries, doing full out, and Ireland take notes from countries of similar size, which are really putting in the effort. I guess you don't have to go all the way to Sweden, but Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, who are running these full shows, who do it every year. And what's stopping you from putting in the effort? That's
exactly. Put the effort in. It's also even just for national viewership. People like to watch national finals. So not just us Eurovision fans, but there is a thing. There is a lot. These, especially in certain countries like the UK, there is that hate watching, but it's still watching. You know what I mean? So that's all the broadcasters care about, the numbers. So let's do it. All right. So this is just, do you have a few more, just 5 more minutes, Gabe? Just a few open Q&A questions. If you have anything else, Eurovision, doesn't have to be on tonight's shows or yesterday's shows, whatever, at ESC United. We are happy to answer them, but make sure you put at ESC United so we can see them. Can you please ban Gabe for making me feel old, Green Oscar? Sorry, Gabe, that was the last live stream. You made people feel old, so that's your fault.
It's nice to you. See you all later. Bye.
Bye. There you go. All right, so let me remove. Oh, he's back. I was just about to remove him. So close.
Easy.
Kenneth is saying, if Estonia is smart, they'll send Stefan. I doubt anyone else will occupy the country lane. While you never know, we still got a lot of things to go. How do you feel about Stefan's song in Estonia? Estilao?
So I actually haven't heard it yet. So I need to go and listen through the Estilao songs. But I mean, the fact remains, if it is a country, you're saying it's a country song. I mean, you can. I'm thinking back. Waylon, for example, occupied it quite well, although I know that song was divisive.
But there's almost pop. It's like pop country rock. I mean, it wasn't even like country in that traditional sense. And to be fair, just you haven't listened to yet. Stefan's song is a lot more. I guess country is the best way because it has more like the old Western sound. Like you feel like you're in the old Wild West, right? He wears a cowboy hat and all that stuff, and he has like those sound instruments that you hear. Like I don't know what they're called. That is the sound that he's going for. It's not even like country as you think. The American country in the country charts. So it's very themey, like a theme song almost to like a Wild West show. So it's interesting. So it's true, it would stand out. Ruben Reacts is saying, Kim's scandal yesterday, MGP. I am not familiar of a scandal that happened in MGP. Are you familiar, Gabe?
Oh, I think this was somebody got knocked out and it was controversial.
Knocked out as in like the results, or literally like somebody got knocked out in the face?
The results. Nobody got literally knocked out.
Okay, I was like, what?
Oh yeah, so this was actually, I talked about Made of Glass, my favorite. That won against La Melodia by Kim Vigard. Now, Made of Glass was, in my opinion, the better of the two. It was a great performance. Obviously, it's my favorite. I'm biased, but in my opinion, I'm sorry, Ruben. I think it was the right decision. My bad.
All right, next question. Oops. I came in late. Someone saying, so you may have already discussed this, but how do you feel about this year's Eurovision hosts? My opinion is I don't have one. They seem fine to me, but I've heard of Mika, obviously, second to hot on your lollipop. Da, 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 da. I know him, and I know, of course, Laura Pausini, but I don't know their personalities. I don't know their hosting style, so I can't really comment on it. Do you know them? I mean, you probably know Mika. But
I mean, as for Mika, for Eurovision hosts, what I will say is they could be brown, they could be blue, they could be violet sky, they could be hurtful, they could be purple, they could be anything they liked. To be honest, as long as they do a good job on the night, that's what's important.
That was hilarious.
Quite frankly, God. I don't mind.
All right, you're funny. I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet. That was good. I'm gonna. Wow.
Get me drunk enough in Turin, and I'll sing that song. I'll do the falsetto and everything.
Deal. I'm all wet now. Put my water. Yeah. So, but you're okay with everybody then? I think that's the last thing I heard, right?
Yes. They'll be fine. They're good choices, and like Mika is a great choice, and will do really well. So I'm looking forward to it.
I always look for people who are good personality, like charisma, but without overshadowing it, like making it about them, right? You find the balance between you're the host to guide us through the thing without taking away the attention from everybody else. So that is my perfect case scenario. Sweden was almost too much when they had Manzamalo and Petra, but they were just good, so I'm okay with it.
They get a free pass.
They get a free pass. It's hard to pull that off, though, right? So it worked. Hey, guys. What are the countries with no information given yet you are excited for or have expectations? Good questions. I need to look at the list.
I have a couple.
Okay, so do you want to? If you have an idea, then go ahead.
I say this in my naive stupidity that I say every year. I'm excited for the UK, just in case maybe we'll do something, anything at all. Like literally, I just want something that I can cheer for, and I'm excited that maybe. I remember saying this in like 2014, and it still hasn't happened. Maybe this will be our year. So I'm excited for them. I'm also just looking through the list. I've always been a big fan of the songs coming out of Armenia. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Armenia does. And third and finally, even though it's not going to happen, I would be excited for Kazakhstan if they let them in, but they have to let them in first. So
Oh, there you hear. That's right. You heard that, EBU. Make it happen. But I agree with you. I'm very much interested in the UK. Again, the underdog theme comes back here because I want them to do well, because I want the British sentiment to change from, again, hate watching to fun watching. You know what I mean? And that needs to happen once the BBC gets the stick out of their ass and just make it work. And like it's I don't take the excuses anymore, but they can do better. They have the talent. It's just so sad that they just can't figure it out. The most successful broadcaster there is in Europe, the biggest one basically, and this is where we're still at every single year. And I feel like we're just having deja vu's here, right? Talking about it every single year. We want it. They can do it this year, and then no.
and it's like it's the inauthenticity. We talked about it before. About Italy being so authentic. Everything we do, it's like, oh, we're making a song to be good at Eurovision. No, stop it. Just make a good song.
Make a good song. Exactly. That is exactly how I feel. So it's super annoying. All right, let's see here. I'm wondering if you who don't speak Swedish notice how chaotic last night was in Mello. There were so many technical issues. Poor Oscar Zia looked so stressed. So I switched back and forth. So I only always tuned on when the songs were playing. So I missed the little bits and pieces in here. But I did see on our forum in the ESC United /forum. Shameful promo. That they were talking about that he was like out of breath, like he didn't make it. His timing was off because he wasn't in place at the right time. There was a lot going on. So, did you see anything of that, Gabe? Oh, you were awesome.
I did notice. I was watching it. There was like occasional awkward pauses, or like it felt like going to the wrong camera shot. Oscar Zia did very well, hosting by himself to hold it all together. But he did look really, really stressed. Like as if he was like, oh my God, everything is going wrong. Which, to be fair, it was. So yeah, no, I think it was very out of character. But even the most slick productions, that can occasionally happen. Most important thing is they had a robust enough. The production was robust and professional enough that even with everything going wrong, they got the show done, and they got it done like legitimately and credibly. That is important.
I have this feeling that Mr. Christian Bjorkman is sitting in his very big condo somewhere, overlooking the ocean, saying, "See, I told you needed me."
Is it a condo? Or is it like an evil castle with lightning?
Maybe
somewhere on the top of a mountain.
You heard like the organ sound. Like the Count on Sesame Street or something like that. I was thinking, but in all seriousness, I wonder if there was I don't know if really when you have someone who knows the ins and outs, and maybe but not everyone is new on the team, right? There are people still there that they were there last year, so it's not like they're completely out of touch there. So could have been really just coincident timing there. And as you said, it happens with the best show. It happened at Eurovision. I mean, I've been doing Eurovision now for a few years now, and it's just always nerve-wracking. Like even the very, very last final dress rehearsal, all the issues that are happening, I was like, how can I fix all of this? How did I do it? And then for the most part, it works, right? And then of course, it's the little things that you see, and it's like, oh my God, what's going on? It's nothing to compare to the dress rehearsals, which what they're there for, right? Were you any of the dress rehearsals, Gabe, when you're in the live shows, or you're only the live shows that you attended?
So yeah, I was at the jury final in 2018, and I went to a semi 2 rehearsal in 2018.
Okay, so you can see. Oh, and you were on live stream last year as well. I keep forgetting about that. Yeah, so you saw a lot of
the rehearsals. I saw the. Yes. I mean the rocks. I mean, do you not remember the article where there's all of us like, in the Romanian press. That article watching Roxanne's rehearsal. I mean, things can go badly wrong in rehearsals. Monitors can break, earpieces can fall out, props can fall to bits. And I'm sure it's something that we might not have seen. I'm sure there have been occasions where props have broken in rehearsals.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have to be hastily fixed.
The scariest ones I saw was definitely, well, not scariest, but some of the ones that stood out to me, 2016, very first rehearsal for Sergei Lazarev on the wall. Thunder and lightning, I'm falling down. And I was like, oh, shit. I thought,
Mm.
and you heard just blop, the music stopped immediately. I'm like, oh my God, he broke his arm or something like that. It looked bad. But he got up, fine, did the next one. But yeah, he addressed like he hurt himself a little,
Mm.
but he was
And-
a pro and stood up.
Mm.
But those moments, or like I remember Yodel it, he climbed on the cannon, the guy, and then he pushes his, and then the cannon continue to roll, and he flew back, like landed badly on his back. And it's just like, oh my God. Like that kind of that makes you like, can be scary. You think it's just a tiny little thing that they're doing, but that could have a big repercussions. That's why they don't want people flying over in the stage, and then something comes off and then you're hurt. So those things happen all the time. And then there are little things that are just funny, like when the one time, who was it who got hit by a camera? Like as someone like running and they ran into the artist. I forgot.
Oh, it was.
Who was that? I remember that happening. I don't know, but there's so many rehearsals I've seen. You can't remember then.
Natalia Gordienko dropping her microphone. Full props, by the way, to the dancer who reacted so quickly to grab that microphone.
Yes, they're definitely, and I didn't even notice it. You know what I mean? Like, because I was in the press and it's all happening. I didn't notice until later on. Oh, somebody brings up Mikolas Joseph. I forgot about that. Czech Republic, when you heard his leg or his ankle, right? It was, I remember that. That was scary too. Because I remember he tipped over, and I think it was one of those moments where
he was in a neck brace and everything. They took him to hospital.
Yes, and initially it didn't because it kind of takes a moment for it to kick in the pain, right? So it looks like he's going to continue, but then they took him off at some point. So it was pretty scary. And the other moments that were eaten on camera, I remember in 2015, the girl from Iceland, one step at a time, I forgot her name. She passed out actually during the interviews we were doing, right? So the medics came in there and make sure she's okay, and then eventually they brought her out. But there's exhaustion going on, and it's just a lot. So people don't even understand how stressful it can be being an artist there, and as fascinating it is to see that behind the scenes and how it all unfolds. It is also quite intimidating sometimes. That's why I'm always have the uttermost respect for every single artist doing this, because it is stressful and they put their heart and soul into it. And when you do this, I mean, you kind of, even though you were not there physically, you were there watching it all. You get a certain attachment to the artists, even though, you may not like the song, but you can see the blood and tears they put into it. And you're like, oh my God, I want every single one of them to qualify. And that's just not how it plays out.
I get so defensive ever since I've become more involved and like going to the contest, doing things like this, watching rehearsals. I've become so defensive of the artists. Like, I'll be like, oh, I don't like that song. But then someone says something mean about the artist, and I'm like, no, you don't get to do that.
There are a few occasions where rare though, because the vast majority of the artists are actually really nice and happy to be there. Yes, if there's a time where people were rude to me, but it was rare. And then I'm not going to pretend that they were nice. And I think the one guy apologized. Actually, it was in 2013 by Alex from Hungary. He was very rude. And it was then kind of like, he was just so overwhelmed, and he apologized. It was like he didn't realize what the attention and all that stuff that's going around it. He was just so exhausted. And I think he was just, it was too much for him. So I'm like, no, that's fine. I didn't take it personally anyway, but it was kind of like, oh my God, he didn't even look at me. He was like, because I asked him a question, I guess, if it was asked before, and he wouldn't even look at me, and he just pointed at the translator who just said it for him, that kind of thing. And he didn't look at me, and it was just really awkward. And but for the most part, the people are really nice there anyway. So that is what you
Can I give a quick shout out to one person?
Yeah.
Who was especially nice in 2018, because some artists, they really do like go above and beyond. 2018, I was in the queue. Yeah, most of them, you're right. I was in the queue with my bunch of my friends. And one of my friends had this little Albania flag, and it was the only Albania flag that you could see in the queue. And Eugene Bushpepper walked past, and he saw it, stopped his like team, turned around and came over to speak, and stayed and spoke to us for like 5 minutes. And just because he was so happy that he saw
not much representation for Albania at Eurovision.
Yeah. And just because my friend Turt, who might be in chat, shout out Turt if you're here, because my friend had an Albanian flag. It's just that they are such wonderful people. And this is what I was saying before about not hating on any of the artists. They're incredibly talented. They are lovely people. They go out of their way to make the contest an incredible experience for all of us when it's an immense pressure that is piled on to you.
Yeah.
You know, they deserve all the love in the world. And even if you don't like their songs, unless they're actually shitty people, sorry, which obviously there are occasional ones.
That's rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, actually, it's the team that is rude. Like, for instance, like famous people like Nicky Byrne, actually a very down-to-earth, nice guy there. He wanted to talk to people, but his agent was a dick. And I'm not saying, like, he was pushing people, like, don't take pictures of him. You know, like, you are at a press conference. What are you supposed to do with him? You know, so he was just really, like, rude. And that made me mad. Like, and Nicky was like, no, it's fine. But, you know, he kind of has to listen, I guess, you know, so I felt bad for him.
In 2018, again, there was a guy on the Bulgarian delegation. I was just outside the arena. I had an Israel flag. I was supporting Neta that year. And this guy, and we just bumped into this Bulgarian, and he looked me up and down, gave me this look of disgust, and went, "You're not going to win." And I was like, "Okay." And then they were like, "But we're going to come." And then he was like, "Oh yeah, we know we're going to come top 10. Like, we know that's absolutely certain. We're going to come top 10." And I was like, "Okay then."
Okay.
Sure.
And that was in 2018?
Yes. That was in 2018 in Lisbon. I don't know who it was. It was like quite a young guy, so I don't think it was anyone involved with like the organization side of things. But it's just like, I think, you know, especially since the delegations can become quite large, you pick up with that many people, you're going to pick up a few dickheads, basically.
It didn't happen last year because they were the minimum, the delegations, right? They were like, everyone could bring like 2.5 people. That's about it. It was just really, really small. Have you talked about the semifinals allocations yet? I talked about it briefly last year as well, but last week as well. Did you look at the allocation already for the 22 for the semifinals, Gabe?
Oh, I did not actually.
Because while you looked at, I mean, I didn't have a whole lot to say, but I think that it was a really good allocation, very fair. That's why we have those pots. I don't think there are a lot of countries that have a huge advantage. Some of them will always have an advantage. We know that, right? Russia, Lithuania. It just happens. But I think it has been, you can never eliminate it, but you can decrease / minimize it. And I think that the draw certainly helped that. It's just interesting that I see all of the 3 Nordic countries that are in the first semi are all in the second half, so that's good for them. But other than that, there are, I mean, some of the big, I mean, there are a lot of friends, but Greece and Cyprus, I think, are in a different final. Romania and Moldova are in the different ones. The Nordic countries are split up a little, and Belgium and Netherlands are, you know, so the all of these ones that you usually, even like the anti-votes, like the Azerbaijan, Armenia, are not together. So I thought it was a really good draw.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's my personal opinion is I like the pots are good, but they basically solved the problem by themselves. After that, I don't read into it too much, just because like after that, you've removed a large amount of the political element from the qualification, and then it's just about, you know, it makes it very fair. So they sort of, in my opinion, that is a problem that they actually managed to solve without making things worse in some other way. So well done, EBU.
Yeah,
I always one giggle, right.
And they did a good job with the pots, but it still giggles. Part 2 always makes me laugh. Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Finland, Denmark, and Australia. But you know, because it's just funny to me, you know. I mean, Australia has to be in one pot, you know. They have to put it somewhere, but it makes sense because they often vote for like Sweden and the Nordic countries because the music taste is very similar. So I get that. But it makes me laugh. And then part 6 is not random, but there's certainly a little bit more Austria, Belgium, Czech Republic, Ireland, Netherlands, and Switzerland. Yeah, it all
like
makes
the other sense. Ones.
Yeah. Where's Malta? Malta is in part 4, makes sense. You know, the Greece, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Portugal. They throw Portugal in there as well, because why not?
I guess everyone has to go somewhere.
Yeah, again, you have to have the fillers, right? And that is a filler. And people are saying, are you accepting new team members? We always are looking for people, whether it's mostly, of course, help us with the website and all that stuff, but even on, if you want to get involved more editorial or on camera, certainly we can talk about there is, I think, a link. I'm going to update our website anyways in the near future that you can use, and we do have an article on that as well. I think it's still pinned on our Twitter page. I'm not even sure. But the answer is yes. Just reach out to info@escunited.com and let us know, and we'll go from there. Okay, one more question. Gabe, can you see the UK televoters just sending their votes to countries like Ireland, Australia, and Malta in Semi-2 due to the poor scores the UK has received lately?
So I don't think that the UK televoters will kind of adopt another country in that way. I think, we'll see the usual patterns, in the semi-finals and finals from the UK.
Lithuania.
Yeah, Lithuania. I don't know what it is. Lithuanians are just super committed. Like, relatively speaking, they're not even that big a diaspora
No,
in the
I
UK for the
know.
most part. They just they get out the phones and they start voting when the time comes. So you got to give them credit for that. Like,
I guess
they
so.
are outnumbered like 10-1 by the polls, and they still beat them every single year.
Yes, because it has UK, Ireland, Norway. Certain countries have like a big, like a decent amount of diaspora. But anyways, go ahead. You were talking about the you don't think they have that? You don't think Ireland gets a few points here and there, of course.
Yeah,
but they're not guaranteed either anymore, right? As it used to be. What about the rest?
I think the UK televote judges things for the most part on their merits, but the criteria they use is terrible because the UK has terrible taste. Sometimes they have very good taste. I personally am very proud of the fact we gave 10 points to So Lucky in 2011.
Oh, really?
Yes, we did, which was a fantastic choice. Well done.
Was it the
God save
televote or
Queen.
over? You mean the overall one?
The
right?
overall,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, our overall 10.
Oh, that's right. It feels like I forgot that we used to have one set of votes back in the day.
Yeah,
It feels
funny,
like so
isn't it?
long ago.
But no, in answer to your question, no, I don't think the UK will follow that kind of pattern. That said, Ireland and Malta, I mean, Ireland obviously hasn't because Ireland's song is just not very good. Malta typically picks things which are quite friendly to a UK audience. So if they do well with the UK televote, it'll be for that reason rather than people adopting it as a second country, you know?
Ireland is always a thing. If they send a really bad song, they don't get any points. If it's an okay song, they get more points than other countries would give them, right? They have a little advantage there, which makes sense. But that would apply to most countries. Like even Netherlands and Germany don't always give each other points. But when a song is okay, it gives it a lot more points than other countries would give. So there's always this little head start, if you will. So, and I think that is kind of what's happening there. And to a certain extent, it's natural. It sucks though for countries who don't have major neighbors Malta is always the poor one out. So yeah, even Portugal has a little bit of support from France and Spain and Switzerland, so you never know. But yeah, so anyways, thank you today, everyone, for tuning in. It went way longer than I thought, but it was a good conversation, good questions. And Gabe, I know you'll be back very, very soon for our next one. Any other final thoughts, comments, concerns, praise?
It was great to spend this time with you, Matt, and with all of you in chat. It's always fantastic to see you all. And provided I will give Matt lots of compliments so that hopefully he lets me come back soon. Matt, you look wonderful today.
Thank you. And I have to go because the Schmaltz police is here. So I'll talk to you all later. Bye. Keep waving. I'm not done yet.
Oh,
I pushed the right button.